Hello there, Steve here in Sydney of the Lay Gnosis website, truebluehealer.com. I've got a real treat for you today. It's a kind of an intellectual sleigh ride for yourself as to why you didn't see something, how you didn't see something. You have good reasons to be inattentive, by the way. But mainstream science is just been shown up to be a bunch of people, basically the blind leading the blind, for about 100 years, okay, misleading us all into thinking they know what they're talking about. And it's appalling how blind the leaders of society, the so-called self-elected scientific leaders, have been. This is a scientific paper greatly prized and presented by the Electric Universe community. And it is simply this, and I'm going to show you something very simple that you've seen so many times in plain sight and admired, and you probably haven't grasped the scientific implication of it because you're not a professional scientist. It's not your job to know these things. But astrophysicists, cosmologists, astronomers should be intensely curious about this, and they have been anything but that. And here it is, I'm going to show it to you now. There's a paper put out by Santilli, a scientist researcher since the 1970s, into this one very obvious fact that most of us just comment on for its beauty. We go to a lot of effort to photograph it and make lovely scenes out of it. And it's simply this picture I'm going to show you now, which is on screen. And it's simply that the much vaunted redshift that causes the expanding universe is actually simply the colour shift of light as it comes in through our atmosphere at the setting of the sun. Only that. What this means is at the base of the sun, the colour of the white sunlight gets redder and redder toward the ocean as the rays from the sun come in practically flat through the longest possible trajectory, the longest possible thickness of air. And it's the air in the atmosphere that causes the redshift. And that's why astronomers 100 years ago saw redshift everywhere they looked, because they were looking out through air. And the lower you went toward the horizon, the worse the redshift got, in daylight at least. Of course, most astronomers look up in the sky at night time, don't they? So they never used to think about it because they were probably all in bed when the sun was going down, getting ready to do their night shift with their astronomy, etc. This peer-reviewed paper that's already had its results duplicated 5 times has withstood peer review, and all the objections to its claim that the universe isn't moving, that's the punchline, the universe is not expanding at all, that the redshift, mistakenly identified by the astronomers as evidence of movement connected to Doppler shift 100 years ago, is totally false. Common sense readings of the sun's light getting redder and redder as it changes toward the setting, the ocean, the lowest part of the atmosphere, the thickest part of the atmosphere, shows conclusively that the redshift is simply caused by atmospheric air. Santilli began working on this, astronomer, way back in the 1970s. He spent 30 odd years working out all the mathematics to be absolutely certain it was true, and he's done all that. I'm afraid the mathematics are beyond yourself and myself, so what I have done is I've put the PDF file, which contains 37 pages of very high-level mathematics, maths that you and I have never heard of, but obviously part of the big picture, the macro perspective. And there's plenty of hard-hitting English. That thing about the redshift of the sun is the strongest, most powerful evidence against the expanding universe, disproving it. Is one of the opening lines of the paper. And after that, it just gets worse. It's a case of extreme scientific aggression toward mainstream science for running like a religion for the last 100 years, where it would seem astronomers never noticed the setting sun redshift. They're also taken up with basically possessed by what they were told at university and other astronomers, etc. and so they just went with the herd and never questioned it. They were never skeptical. And one of the most amusing cases of this would have to be one Neil deGrasse Tyson, the very famous, much vaunted astrophysicist on the Discovery Channel, who gives public lectures to wide acclaim that we should all be more skeptical. Because if we're not skeptical, we're all going to be gullible, aren't we? He says in one of his stage lectures. Well, he doesn't believe in skepticism towards sunsets and basic stuff like astrophysical basic stuff like that. So he's been caught out on the wrong foot like all the other people in the herd of astronomers. I would point out that we've now got more scientists practicing science than ever before, and this setting of the sun, a redshift, has gone completely over their heads, which shows just what a bunch of sleepwalkers science is. Despite the many benefits it's brought us, it's still full of status quo supporting sleepwalkers. We need more renegades like Dr. Santilli and the people in this paper. Amato and some other names are mentioned. They make a direct attack on the ludicrous Big Bang theory that never happened. It's simply a result of looking through air when we look at light coming into the Earth during daylight hours. Redshift also occurs at night, of course. This paper very aggressively attacks all the things built on the Big Bang and the false expanding of the universe that was invented around the beginning of the 20th century. Einstein signed off on it. He was the idea was put to him by Georges Lemaitre, who was a Vatican astronomer, who publicly admitted that he wanted to give science a supernatural beginning resembling that of the Bible, and he did. And it grabbed everyone's imagination so much it was derisively called, it was meant to be a put down, but it was derisively called by Fred Hoyle the Big Bang Theory because it was so stupid. But the sarcastic name is stuck forever, and it's become a cornerstone of our culture, much to our detriment. It has a colouring effect on every field of science, many fields of literature, entertainment. I mean, there's even a TV show called The Big Bang, isn't there? So, Santilli was greatly pleased to hear that NASA space probes, interplanetary missions, their radio signals redshifted as they passed through planetary atmospheres, which really only confirmed that gas changes the colour of light as light shines through it. Electromagnetic waves, radio signals being the same structure, are shifted in the red direction by planetary atmospheres. Now this has been confirmed by NASA repeatedly, noticed by them, not explained by them. So he was, what can I say, greatly strengthened in his determination to prove that the redshift was a load of horse hockey. It's got nothing to do with planetary movement or relative movement between the observer and the observed. In a few experiments, the redshift has been duplicated, but not by big-name science laboratories around the world. They all refuse to take this experiment on because it's really so simple. You get a blue laser, you shine it through a pipe, and the blue laser comes out blue light at the other end. If you pump in atmospheric air, it is slightly redshifted. If you compress the air to 2,000 pounds per square inch, it is greatly redshifted. This has been repeated 5 times for 5 different experimental teams. And it's so wonderfully simple, it's laughable that mainstream science went on, the queen of the sciences, astronomy, went on for 100 years failing to notice the redshift at the base of the setting sun. Even Einstein didn't pick it, because he's the one that said he noticed something. He's famous for his observation of surface tension in wet sand stops you sinking and leaving thick footprints. He didn't sort of make that observation at the same time of the setting sun and noticed the redshift at the base of the sun. He just accepted whatever he was told by the astronomers and produced all the mathematics for it. So we have some pretty athletic, gymnastic mathematics built on this mistaken redshift. It's got nothing to do with movement. It's the end of the Big Bang Theory, acceleration of the expanding universe, which required dark energy to provide the energy. Dark energy doesn't exist because it's not needed, because the Big Bang never happened. It's simply caused by light coming through air, this apparent redshift. So much for the cosmic background radiation, which is claimed to be the remnants of the Big Bang explosion. What a mockery this makes of the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland that is supposedly looking at matter a microsecond after the Big Bang. What a laugh that is. Well, they got the money, we provided it. They've got the money, they're laughing, and they don't care if they have religious beliefs driving their science system. But I think this is a pretty devastating wake-up call to mainstream science. NASA sort of accidentally confirmed this with their planetary probes, redshifting their signals as they pass through planetary atmospheres. That's a very damning support from NASA, isn't it? To kill the Big Bang Theory, which is still presented as mainstream science by Neil deGrasse Tyson on Discovery Channel. And to keep the ever-dying theory, it keeps dying repeated deaths, they keep revivifying it with more ridiculous changes in the rules. Now we are told the initial expansion of the Big Bang that never happened was actually faster than light. It's the only way they can get the maths to sort of stack up. But the mathematics are so way out of kilter, it's basically metaphysical mathematics. And that's all scientists are doing today with the Big Bang Theory. The paper goes to some length, and I've put the excerpts in a little robot read for you to save you reading 37 pages of maths. The paper goes to some lengths to reiterate the utter nonsense of modern day science and how the problem with the Big Bang was it placed Earth at the centre of the universe, everything moving away from us because everywhere we look, we're looking through our own atmosphere. And to make it non-Earth centric, so it doesn't seem to be so religious as in Galileo's time, they invented the ever-expanding universe with dark energy feeding into the theory so that we didn't appear to be Earth-centric. The universe wasn't centred by this Earth that we live on, you see. And the people in the paper very vigorously attack modern-day science as actually headed back toward the medieval thinking of an Earth-centred universe, a man-centred universe, an anthropocentric universe. So I'll give you here the robot read. There's some lovely pictures in it that easily grasp, and some very aggressive attacks on mainstream science for the last 100 years. And much of what you've been told at school was just false. So what folly is science, and why should we believe in it? Why should we ever take it so seriously? I think science is getting a real uppercut here from a serious observational scientist, Mr. R.M. Santilli. Now here's the robot read summary of his paper. I commend it to you.
This little video is extracts from a highly mathematical paper to spare you the difficulty of reading 37 pages of very advanced maths. It's linked below this video for your perusal, but mercifully, it uses some very plain, hard-hitting English reproduced here, and some illustrations that simply explain the revolutionary common sense principle hidden from us in plain sight for 100 years. The main objective of the measurements presented in this paper is to provide experimental confirmation of R.M. Santilli's hypothesis that the redness of direct sunlight at sunset, as illustrated in the below picture, is primarily due to loss of energy by light to our atmosphere, while scattering is primarily responsible for the decrease of the intensity of sunlight at the horizon, since the sun redshift at the horizon occurs without appreciable relative motion between the sun, our atmosphere, and the observer. The measurements presented in this paper appear to confirm Santilli's view that the redness of the sun at the horizon is evidence visible to the naked eye on the lack of expansion of the universe, and of related conjectures. Redshift here shown at the bottom of the sun, ocean sunset. Redshift here shown at the bottom of the sun, ocean sunset. Air changes the color of light, redshifting it. Compressed air more redshift. one of the systematic experimental confirmations obtained by West and D'Amato on the existence of Santilli's IRS, the redshift, via the same ISO-shift testing station used in Ref 9, but at temperature below 70 degrees F in this can. The peak to the left denotes the blue laser light under vacuum, and that to the right represents the same light traversing through air at 2000 pounds per square inch, without any relative motion between the source, the pipe, and the wavelength analyzer. Above, a blue laser light redshifted to the right by simple air in the pipe. Atmospheric air and 2000 pounds per square inch provides greater redshift. Additionally, the IRS, the redshift, was proposed on grounds of information from NASA planetary missions, according to which the pitch of radio communications decreases, thus characterizing a redshift when the spaceship travels behind a planetary atmosphere. The surprisingly pressing need for do-it-yourself research. Since the formulation of the IRS, the redshift theory, in 1991, Santilli submitted proposals to various physics laboratories around the world to conduct measurements of light propagating in air at various pressures in order to verify or dismiss the existence of a redshift without relative motion. Following about 2 decades of refusals to consider the proposed measurements, despite their low cost and fundamental implications, Santilli had no choice other than that of conducting the needed measurements himself. The heretic was given a cold shoulder from mainstream science. Is anyone surprised? Therefore, with the assistance of the technicians at the Institute for Basic Research in Florida, as well as the assistance of external laser experts, Santilli constructed the ISO-shift testing station shown in Figure 3 that comprises an initial air-conditioned cabin containing a blue laser, a second air-conditioned cabin containing wavelength analyzers, the laser and analyzer being interconnected by a 60-foot-long steel pressure pipe containing air at the maximal pressures up to 2,000 pounds per square inch, that is 137 bars. Simple backyard experiment with 2 sheds, pipe between. Laboratories worldwide refused to do this for 20 years. The confirmation of Zwicky's hypothesis on the cosmological redshift of faraway galaxies as being due to loss of energy by light to intergalactic gaseous media, although according to a mechanism different than scattering. Consequently, Santilli argued that the IRS, that is, redshift of the blue laser light, without any relative motion between the source, the medium, and the analyzer, constitutes experimental evidence on the absence of the expansion of the universe, the absence of the acceleration of the expansion, the absence of the Big Bang, and the absence of the expansion of space itself. Only that, dear viewers. How about a cheer for the man? Santilli, dear viewers. Other people quoted in the paper join in to hammer home the lack of existence of dark energy as a mere consequence of the lack of existence of the expansion of the universe, of its acceleration, and all that. In summary, Santilli's primary motivation for the conduction of decades of the mathematical, theoretical and experimental research, herein reported, is to avoid a return of cosmology to the Middle Ages, where it's currently headed, with Earth at the center of the universe, which is a necessary consequence of Hubble's law, according to which the cosmological redshift, as well as its increase, are the same for all galaxies having the same distance from Earth in all directions in space. An implication of Santilli's decades of mathematical, theoretical and experimental research on the IRS, that's the redshift in gases, is that of having established a more plausible mechanism for light losing energy during its travel within gases, resulting via experiments conducted on Earth, a mechanism today known as the Zwicky-Santilli effect, with consequential return of cosmology to Galileo's teaching. The reader is expected to be aware that the IRS interpretation of the cosmological redshift will imply a revision of the virtual entirety of the astrophysical and cosmological models accumulated during the past century, beginning with a revision of the currently believed distances of galaxies, the revision of their luminosity at the origin, and other data. Big Bang fantasy layers of life-saving patches, get another canning, right here, gang. The far-reaching conjecture that space itself is expanding was voiced precisely to avoid Earth being at the center of the universe. Such an intent would have been achieved in the event the universe was uniformly expanding. By contrast, the acceleration of the expansion implies Earth, again, at the center of the universe, despite the expansion of space itself, because said acceleration is the same for all galaxies, having the same distance from Earth in all directions in space. Astrophysical implications of Santilli's redshift. It is suggested the reader meditate a moment on the fact that the representation of the cosmological redshift via the Zwicky-Santilli effect requires the revision of the virtual totality of astrophysical data accumulated during the past century, besides suggesting caution to astrophysicists and to editors alike before claiming any astrophysical view, such as apparent cosmological blue shift, because the latter could be in reality due to Santilli's IBS, acquisition of energy by light from a hot medium. Please do meditate on just how wrong mainstream cosmology and astrophysics has been for 100 years. How blind and unskeptical generations of so-called scientists have been, with more scientists and scientific effort today than ever before. To this very day, a small example is the celebrated Discovery Channel astrophysicist presenter, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who lectures on the need for skepticism, but not in his own astrophysics backyard. It means for 100 years astrophysics and cosmology has been the blind leading the blind, apparently never noticing red sunsets. It further points up how we are mistaken to allow science to be practiced with such religious faith-based fervor, and never to take science too seriously. The Large Hadron Collider is supposed to enable scientists to see the universe a microsecond after the famous Big Bang that never really happened, costing $2.6 billion. What a scam, running for 100 years. Big Bang was sold to Einstein, who signed off on it, by a Vatican priest astronomer Georges Lemaitre, in 1928, who openly admitted he wanted science to have a supernatural cosmological beginning to match that of Genesis. What a coup that was. What a hijacking of our collective cultural mind. The Big Bang falsely colors every field of science. Now let's be practical, gang. Do we think the Big Bang, cornerstone of our enlightened scientific society, will be thrown overboard because of this common sense breakthrough? Or do you think the Large Hadron Collider and the Discovery Channel will just rock on, business as usual, selling the religion of the Big Bang? This redshift paper's proof is duplicated 5 times already, and has withstood peer review. Thus everything cosmologists and astrophysicists have ever told you is rendered wrong. But why should that stop the Big Bang musical? Laughing out loud, it's such a party. And here is the red shift in science's face, caused simply by our own error. Laughing out loud,